Welcome to Tales on the Towpath, the podcast where every mile tells a story.
We're two runners who spend a lot of time out here on the C&O Canal towpath, talking about training, racing, and everything that happens between the miles.
From early morning runs to the stories that keep us moving.
This is where endurance meets inspiration, one step, one tail at a time.
So lace up and join us on the path because every trail has a story and this one's ours.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Adam Lowe.
And I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm Katie Lowe.
So we decided we would come back and do a mini episode on the adventures of last weekend's Tiki Trot 5K beer mile and food mile. We'll go over some of the race results, and then we're going to do a shallow / deep dive into Katie's beer mile and just kind of give you guys some insight into what it takes to run an 8:08 beer mile. So first thing is the Tiki Trot was Saturday, May 9th. Started with a 5K. We had a little bit of rain in the morning, but it didn't seem to damper the mood or the spirits and the participation. The crowd was great. We had 198 finishers in the 5K. There was a sprint finish for first place. Ryan Lowe ran a 16:36 and he out sprinted Jonah, who ran a 16:36.6. So by almost half a second, it was pretty exciting to watch. That was a course record. And then Mariah Donovan set the new course record for females as well, running, I believe, I can look it up real quick, an 18:27. So that is the new female course record. Luke won the beer mile with a 7:53, followed closely by two females. Katie won the women's race with an 8:08, and then Jess Bowman got second, third overall with an 8:17. And then the Tiki Tizer or Taco Mile was Wyatt won with a 9:21. And then Luke, who just finished the beer mile, got second in the Taco Mile with an 8:39. So that was a pretty good race for him as well. And then Aaron Hellman won it on the women's side with a 13:36. So it was pretty cool. Those were the top times, and we had a ton of friends and Tulo runners and just local runners who came out and had personal best. And if I named them all, this would not be a mini episode. So I do want to give a shout out to them. We saw them all in their Tulo gear or their other gear setting personal best and just having a great time. So it was a great day all around. We had over 250 finishers on the day, which was our biggest Tiki Trot yet. So we're pretty pumped for next year. But we wanted to let Katie come on and talk a little bit about her beer mile win and PR and course record. So without further ado, Chris, are you ready to jump in with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Katie, quickly tell us, what was the build up for the race? What was that like in preparation for this beer mile? I mean, we all know you trained, but give us a little background on that.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I feel like I'm in the after party portion of the podcast because I've been limited on what I can say, but I'm not doing a very good job of that right now, so I'll get right into it. In prep for this beer mile, well, we ran a beer mile on January 1st, and I PR'd there and was pretty encouraged, and they did splits for the beer drinking part versus the running part, and I very easily could see that part of my area for improvement was the chugging of the beers 2 through 4. So I started almost immediately after January 1st working on practicing chugging. I was in my training for kind of following a 5K training plan, but I was doing short sprints, and really it was going right along with the beer mile being my actual number one goal to PR this spring. Unfortunately, about a month before the beer mile at Tiki, I came down with a knee injury to where my knee just blew up on me. It was very swollen. It wasn't in much pain, but it swelled up so much that it limited my range of motion. That cut me back to running one easy mile for about a month out from the race, and I was worried that it would tank all my previous efforts, but therein I just focused on the chugging and doing what I could, hopefully the rest and recovery efforts would be enough to allow me to actually race on the day of Tiki Trot.
So, what did your warm up look like before the race? Like, did you just go around like popping open cans just to make sure you had that wrist action ready to go?
Oh, I knew the chug was on point because that's where I could focus my efforts leading up to this race. And my warm up actually on the day of the race was simply to run down the straightaway during the kids' race because I somehow talked my youngest daughter into running the race, but only if I'd run with her. Well, I quickly figured out she's a lot like me. If somebody is there that she feels comfortable enough to complain to, she would do so. So I had to kind of give her some space during that, but I got probably just over a half-mile jog up and down during the kids race. And then there was some time because the kids race was before the 5K. So while the last finishers were finishing up the 5K, I did take off again and run another, I don't know, point 0.3 or point 0.4 of a mile just to kind of get the nervous energy out, put in a few little really short sprints just to get those fast twitch muscles active right beforehand. And that's about it. Beforehand, I was so nervous, guys. I don't know the last time I was as nervous for a race. And I think it's because I did do all this like social media posting and I had been hurt and
You're going
and
off
all
track
that
now.
stuff.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
sorry.
That's okay. We'll get to all that stuff. So I wanna keep everybody in mind or let everybody know that like the warm up's a little different because Katie's also working. She was helping with packet pickup. She was helping get glasses out, put lays in them. So like she didn't have much of a warm up. I also want to go back real quick because when you said you were practicing to chug, I'm sure our listeners are thinking that you were drunk every
Oh,
night chugging beer 3. You were not chugging alcohol every day. What were you chugging?
no, I actually don't drink very much alcohol in general. I told everybody that on Saturday. I don't drink very often. I'm chugging LaCroix mostly, plain carbonated water, out of a can, a 12-ounce can, just to get the volume practice, the vessel practice from the can, and also that carbonation practice going down as fast as possible. And I will tell you the LaCroix are not easier than beer. They're harder than beer. They're more carbonated under normal circumstances and they don't taste very good.
All right, so we are 5 seconds away from the beginning of the race here. You have the beer in your hand. Walk us through that first beer and what's going through your mind when you're chugging it, and then as you take off for that first lap.
Well, the first beer went by in about, what, 8 or 9 seconds. It just was gone. I don't even know if I had time to think. I This tends to happen to me in a beer mile where I, like, have all this time to be nervous and to think about the race, and then all of a sudden, I end up in the beer chugging zone before the first beer, and they're like, 10 seconds to go, and I think, "Oh my gosh, I have to start my watch. I have to, like, I'm not ready." And then they say go, and you just pop the can and chug as fast as you can, and that beer went down really easily. I told some people since the race, I don't even think I tasted the beer. I don't remember what it tasted like. I close my eyes and I count my drinks whenever I'm chugging the beer. I count, and I know from all the practice that I've done about how many drinks it's gonna take me to be done. I can feel the cans empty, turn it over my head as fast as I can, and hit the ground running. And I was first out of the chug zone
For guys and girls, correct?
for guys and girls,
Yeah.
yes.
So you ran that first lap and you came back and I think you were still in first, right? So what
Yes.
happened with that second beer?
Well, this was where I changed my strategy from the last beer mile. The strategy was to grab my beer and pop it immediately and drink as I walk because I went back and watched the professional beer milers on YouTube at the World Championships last year. And they have that 10 meter, I think it's 10 meters, chug zone. And their beers are at one end. They have to be done by the other end. And they really do grab the beer, pop it, drink as they walk. And the goal is to be done with the beer by the time you get to the end of the chug zone, drop it and go. So based on that, I adopted that strategy, grab my beer, Walked to the front. I had a little bit to go once I got to the front, but the goal was to drink it a lot faster because I used to grab the beer and just walk to the front trying to catch my breath, then start chugging. And I saved a bunch of time by doing both at once. And then I left in first place overall again.
All right. So did you hold on to first place through the third beer?
When I came back to grab the third beer, that is something that maybe I need to practice a little bit because I missed the beer and had to kind of double take to go back and grab it. I didn't make it very far, not maybe half a step, so it didn't take very much time, but I did the same practice or as I'm sorry, the same strategy as I walked and chugged, got to the front. Adam's right there cheering me on, kind of being my coach, like telling me, you got to go, drink. Okay. Because when I would stop to breathe, he'd say, "Okay, one more breath and up and go." And so I was trying, but geez, that's the hardest part of the beer mile. However, I did leave the chug zone in first place, but Luke did catch me on the third run lap.
And what's cool is we had 46 finishers in the beer mile. So it was not like packed, but it was, it can get kind of confusing on like who's in first, second, third, fourth. Joe Jefferson did an amazing job announcing where people were. But when you left for that third lap or that fourth lap, it seemed all of a sudden Jess Bowman was within 10 seconds of you. And I think that was, well, I was getting nervous for you. But so you come back in from that third loop, and now Luke is a little bit ahead of you, and then Jess Bowman's probably 10, 15 seconds behind you as you grabbed your fourth beer. So get us through that fourth beer now.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I had expected Luke to pass me, so that didn't play a part in my mental game at all. I just know that he runs faster than I do. I knew I chugged better than he did, so I kind of figured I'd be out. I expected to be out of the chug zone first, I'll be honest. But when he passed me, no big deal. But I can be clear, I kind of zoned everything out. I was so focused on the race. The only people I heard, I mean, I heard the crowd, but I heard you, Adam, and I heard Joe Jefferson. And Joe was talking about Jess Bowman, I feel like more than he was talking about me. And that's not a slight. Maybe that's just me like that's what I was focused on because she was a sleeper. She wasn't even supposed to be in the race. She signed up at 9 p.m. the night before, put the pressure on me.
Hey, actually, let me tell our listeners a fact. So the beer mile closed at 50 people, and she was the 51st person to sign up. So I let her in. So yeah.
And I told Adam that he was in trouble if I lost for opening it back up. But with that said, like I did hear, because I knew she's fast. I know she's never done an official beer mile, but she has done them like with her family and friends before, and I've seen it on social media. So I knew she'd be a little bit of trouble back there. But and I could constantly hear like after I left the chug zone, then Joe would be talking about her. So I knew it was in like she was somewhere in the vicinity. And let's see. So during on the fourth beer, when I got out, I was like, I have nothing to save myself for. I have nothing to lose here except my title and everything I've worked for months for. So I gave it everything I had. I could definitely feel in my legs on like the third and fourth loop that I had suffered from not putting in those really fast sprint training workouts that I had been doing because prior to my injury, I was primed and ready to go for this beer mile. I was ready to sprint. I was ready to chug. I felt very, very confident, and I did lack a little bit of that running raw speed that I had built up just prior to my injury. So, anyway, I held on. And now that I look at those pictures, you can see when I'm finishing and coming through the tape, Jess is like right behind me. And I'm like, I somehow eked that one out just by the, what is the saying, skin of my teeth or whatever.
Was there a moment during the race where things almost fell apart or where you started to doubt that it was going well?
I think I always knew it was going well. And like I mentioned before, I was so focused. I don't know if I've been that focused in any race recently, but there's always those burps that you're just not sure. Like if a burp gets buried and then it starts to come out, you don't know if other stuff is coming with it. And I knew if I puked, a reversal of fortune, if you will, that it was over. Like I couldn't win if I puke. And in the world championships, you actually DQ if you puke. So even if you can run really fast, if you do have a reversal of fortune, you're automatically DQ'd. Now, that's not how our race works, but I knew it wouldn't be a chance to win and get the course record, which I really, really wanted.
One of my favorite things about the beer mile has to be like spectating it. As much as I love to participate, I love spectating it and like hyping up the runners. And I love screaming at you, Katie, to drink. And I was yelling at Chris when he like threw up, and it was just, it was great. I love being a part of the crowd. But how much does the crowd energy help, or like you said, you kind of zoned it out, but like you hear it in the background. So how much does that factor in?
Yeah, I think it's so exciting to hear like the roar of the crowd and people yelling your name. I definitely knew there was like a lot of hype and a lot of cheering. I just didn't hear any one group of people. Like I heard my name a lot and I heard a lot of cheering. It was all kind of a whirlwind because I was just so focused on chug the beer, run the quarter mile, chug the beer, run the quarter mile. And, it wasn't easy, and when I finished, I was so I this is like a typical race where it's one that you work so hard for, and you work so hard during, and you don't let up. I never let up that whole entire beer mile, and I know it was only 8 minutes and 8 seconds, but boy, that was a hard and earned 8 minutes and 8 seconds.
Do you think that the beer mile culture is more competitive or more community driven?
Mostly it's community driven. I think most people go out to do a beer mile to have fun, right? To they like beer or they like running or they like both and let's mix the two and see what it's like. Really, that's what it is for us too. It's always a little painful during and a lot of fun after, but when I've had a little bit of success locally, of course, but also seeing my times drop, it just kind of gave me a reason to become a little more competitive with it. So I think mostly it's community driven, but I am more competitive with myself in the fact that I want to see how fast I can actually run one.
I want to brag on you just real quick and to inspire the ladies to come after you. So you hold the course record at Antietam, right? Which no longer has a
Yes.
beer mile. You also hold the course record at Tiki Trot. You hold the
Yes.
course record at Winchester,
I don't know about that one. I'd have to look that
but
one up.
you hold the course record at Amani, right?
Yes.
So here's the call to the lady beer miles to come after her and push Katie to the next level. But she's gonna get mad at me.
Now I guess that's how I get better. I got to have at least a little bit of fear, right?
Right. So now your PR in the beer mile is 8:08. So the question that comes next is, can you beat that? Is that a goal?
Absolutely. After this race, it was not easy, but I know that I can improve on my running. And I also know that I've left a little bit more room for improvement on chugs 2 through 4. They were definitely better at Tiki than they were in Winchester at the first of the year, but I know that through my practice, I can get those times down even a little bit more. But the running part is where I really have room to improve because of that injury. I feel like I was kind of held back in that aspect of the race.
All right. So now what's next? When's the next beer mile and the chance to go sub 8?
That's a good question. In a week and a half is the Amani Beer Mile, but it's really not a PR type of course. It's on grass. It's cross country style beer mile. It's on grass. There's a hill in the middle. Now, of course, you go up a hill, but then you get to come down. But it's typically about a minute slower than what I've run prior, like coming into that race. So I don't really have high expectations for maybe a course PR. That would be a good goal to have. I also am kind of thinking of it as a training beer mile to work specifically on those 2, 3, and 4 chugs. But after that, Adam and I think we're sure 100%.
You're
Well,
like
he's Mr.
92%.
We're like, okay, 92 to 95% sure we're gonna go to St. Louis in July for the St. Louis Beer Mile, but that's what they used to call it apparently, but now they're turning it into a North American Classic Beer Mile, and they're trying to get like 200 people to run it. They're gonna have elite heats. So Adam and I are like, why not? We have that weekend free. We're gonna go out to St. Louis and try our hand there. So it seems like it should be a pretty fast beer mile because it's on road, kind of two out and back 200-meter sections on road. So the hairpin turns might be interesting, but I think it would be potential for being pretty fast. And then in August, I have my eye on one in Ashburn, Virginia. It's called I think it's the Brew Mile. And it used to be the same day as a race we put on, but now we're free. So I'm thinking about doing
Yeah.
that one too.
So I was gonna take a minute to ask Chris about his beer mile, but I don't know if he wants to share anything about it or not.
My beer mile is easy to talk about. It was the worst one I've ever done. I knew on the first sip of the first chug that it wasn't going to go well. For whatever reason, my beer, as soon as it hit my stomach, immediately went to foam, and I knew I was done. It took me, probably 20 seconds to get the first beer down when normally I'm, 11 or 12 seconds, a few seconds behind Katie. The second beer, forget about it. And by the fourth beer, I got halfway through it, and I'm like, it's coming up no matter what. So I tossed it in the trash can, did half a lap, got to the dumpster, had that reversal of fortune, and then ran my penalty lap. So
Well, good good for
And
you for
sometimes it be like that.
yeah, I was
sometimes
gonna
it'd be
say
like that.
good for you for sticking with it and continuing it and knowing that you're gonna throw up. But hey, so
Well,
like Katie, go ahead.
I was gonna say, will you be doing another beer mile soon, Chris?
I definitely would like to do another one, but I have not signed up for a money yet. So we'll see. We'll see what comes next weekend.
So on that note, next weekend is well, this weekend is Harper's Ferry half. Next weekend, the 23rd, is Amani's 5K beer mile, and they have a relay beer mile. So Chris, you can get a partner and you could do 2 beers and 2 laps, and then your partner can do 2 beers and 2 laps. Or if anybody else is interested in trying the beer mile but not sure they want to do 4 beers and 4 laps yet, they could do the relay. But Amani is sure to be a good time. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. And I will be there timing my first race. No pressure. So if you don't get a good time, I guess you can always go back and blame Adam Lowe that day. And it'll be what it is. So yeah, all good things coming up.
Hey,
Yes.
okay,
Oh, that's
sorry.
it. We're done.
No, no. Listen, there's one more thing. Um, Chris, we haven't told you this yet. I don't think Adam did, but I looked up beer mile times for the record holders for women, and they have like beermile.com has just an extensive list of people who have had their beer miles submitted and verified. And an 808 is like around number 99 or 100 on that list of ever beer milers for women. So,
But you have to
yeah,
like videotape the entire beer mile and like it has to be like submitted that way. So we got to go to a high school track and blur out all the high school logos of where we are and then we can submit it.
that's right. So, there has been some talk about a time trial or getting some pacers or something out to a track at some point over the summer or sometime to see if maybe I could replicate. But I'm just not sure because, that adrenaline piece as well. I'd have to be pretty hyped up and excited to do that without it being a race situation.
Hey, well, thank you everybody for listening to the Tiki Trot recap and Katie's beer mile recap. Katie, what are you drinking tonight before we go? LaCroix?
Just plain water.
Chris, what are you drinking?
I've got a dessert beer from Hardywood, a cookie butter beer.
Oh, hopefully a different one than what you had last night when we recorded.
Definitely not the same one.
Yeah, I came downstairs late with nothing to drink, but I had this cup. So I'm actually drinking tap water and it tastes
Ew.
horrible, but I had to have something to drink. So I got good old tap water.
Better than nothing.
Better than nothing. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. And that's
Stay
it.
tuned for some LaCroix chugs on Instagram.
That's all for today's episode of Tales on the Towpath. Thanks for joining us on another run down memory lane and along the C&O. If you've enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep your pace steady and your stories flowing.